Hello and welcome to my channel, and if you have already been to my channel, then welcome back. My name is Kalina and I'm an expert in public relations and mass communications. And before we get to the topic, I would like to ask you to like and share this video and also subscribe for my channel because I want to grow it and expand it, and this is a way to support me. So now let's start with the topic. The topic is about the way that we see the world and the world receives us. So we see the world in a certain way because of the way we are. And this is not something abstract or something that is spiritual. I don't mean it in a spiritual way. Even in spiritual way, that's also true, but this is not what I mean, so I'm going to explain. We have certain senses: the sense of sight, the sense of smell, the sense of the way we hear with our ears. We also have touch, we also have taste, we also have sixth sense, and all of those senses are bringing to us information about the environment that surrounds us. And we are this kind of species that we are adjusted to see and receive the world a certain way. For example, the whales, they are going to send signals like sound signals, and they are going to receive the reflection of that signal back, and they will know what animal is over there, which animal is the prey and which is not, etc. There are animals that are very sensitive to smell, and they have instincts that are going to tell them, for example, especially the hunting animals, they have instincts that are going to tell them where is their prey. Sometimes they can see in the night, in the dark. Sometimes they have other senses that we don't have, but on the other hand, they may not recognize, for example, our faces, because we are, as humans, are recognizing each other's faces. There are animals that are not carnivores, they're not hunters, but they are rather running away from the hunters, and they have other senses that are gonna tell them that there's danger around, and they're gonna feel it with their nervous system before they even see it, and they're going to start running. So we as humans, first of all, we see through our eyes. This is the sense that is giving us the most information, like 80 or higher percent of the information that we receive about the world and the environment is coming through the eyes. But also we have other senses that are giving us information, and we also have consciousness. So we have subconscious level, but we also have very evolved consciousness, and we can assess this information much better on a different level. And we can also plan, we have imagination, we can imagine things, etc. So we are not functioning only on our basic instincts. We also have a conscious level of functioning on a cognitive level that gives us this opportunity to communicate between each other, again on conscious level. And when we communicate, by the way, the sounds that we make, that we have assigned meaning to, they're not the actual communication. The communication comes from our brains, from our consciousness, from our mind, and we use the sounds in this cognitive way, because there are other animals that communicate between each other, but they cannot make our human sounds that we make with our throat, with our vocal cords. Other animals also make sounds. They also have higher level of cognitive intelligence, but they communicate in a different way. They have other languages, for example, the crows, the orcas. I think they communicate on a cognitive level, but they don't use our sounds. So our sounds are not really the essence of the communication. It is the way that we transfer the meaning between each other. So I hope this all makes sense, and we are receiving the world in certain ways because of the way we are. Because of the way we are. We have a lot of our subconscious mind that is working, that is giving us information, and that is causing a lot of our reactions without us even understanding it on cognitive level. But we still assess the world on that instinctual, subconscious, and including conscious level. And all of those levels of realizing and understanding and functioning within the world are a part of our perception of who we are, how the world works, what about other people, who are the people that we want to surround ourselves with, etc. So when we understand all of this, we will also understand what kind of signals we are giving, because we are receiving the world in this way, and other people also receive the world in their own ways. Because yes, as people, we have this cognitive ability, and we have consciousness, and we have all the senses, but also we are from different cultures, different environments, different social structures. So in order to understand how we are received and the signals that we are giving, and how many of those signals are recognized consciously, and how many are just recognized subconsciously on subconscious level, once we understand this, we are going to know how to present ourselves better. Because one thing can be one signal in one culture and within one context, but a whole different signal in another background, to a person with another background. And before we realize that, you can't really present ourselves correctly, because we're going to have awareness of ourselves, and of course we know ourselves, but then there is a way that we are perceived within different contexts and by different people, because they also have their own senses that help them evaluate the world. So if we want to understand, if you want to give the right signals, one part is really knowing ourselves, having self-awareness. That's very essential, because we need to know what we want to communicate to the world about ourselves. But also we need to have awareness about other people, about psychology. In PR, we're talking about publics, different publics that could be your clients, could be your employees, could be medias, journalists, etc. And one major thing about presenting ourselves correctly and giving away the right message to those publics is understanding them. So it is very important to know the psychology of the target groups and the publics that you want to communicate with, because they have certain way of receiving the world and the information about the environment. And it's not something that they monitor, and it's not something that is necessarily conscious. It is not something that is planned. It is not we have all agreed that this means that. Let's say about colors. Different colors are received differently by people. For example, green is received by the human eye most easily, because it is within that spectrum of light. It is in the middle of the spectrum, and that's where the colors are the least irritating. Irritating, I don't mean like infection irritating, I mean the easiest to be received by the human eye. So this is why we usually use green or blue. Let's say within business environment, they are very appropriate colors because you want to keep neutral. But then we have red that is in the end of the spectrum. And because it is in the end of the spectrum, it is very noticeable. It causes a little irritation. Again, not as medical infection irritation. It causes us, it gets your attention and you put a little more effort for receiving it. So when there is red, usually red is used, let's say, for dating. When you go on a date with your partner and you want to evoke certain reaction that is on romantic level, you know, I still want to keep the video appropriate for YouTube, then that sends a whole different signal. And again, this is kind of like an example. Of course, it is just one example. Of course, you can use red and blue and green in many different ways, but the point is to use them with understanding what reaction they are going to cause and how they're going to be received. So once you understand that, then you can adjust the message that you're going to send. For example, let's say you are within business environment, but there is a reason that you want to introduce a little red, like an accent to your clothing, for example. And that could be with intention because, let's say, you know this particular public or you know this particular person that you're going to talk to, and there are basic principles, but you want to use those principles for this particular message, and this is for a reason. So this is why I'm telling you that it is very important to know your publics and to know how you're likely to be perceived by the other side. And of course, there is a way to assess this by their reactions, and there is also a way that you may be perceived in a different way that you want, and maybe you don't realize it. Very often that also happens. But this is one more reason to be aware of human psychology and how human senses work, because you can also assess the reaction. You can also assess how you're actually perceived or how your message is received. So this is for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments what do you think about this topic, how you have experienced those things in your career, and how you have been received and how you have received the world and the environment around you. Also, I would invite you one more time to like and share this video, and also to subscribe for my channel. You will support me a lot with my growth, and I wish you a nice day. Have a great day.